So UFC Austin just took place last night, and it was quite a good card from top to bottom. But what we're here to talk about is, of course, the main event: Arman Tsarukyan flatline KOing Beneil Dariush just 1 minute into the first round of their bout. And man, what a performance from Arman! He looked amazing. He looked so fast, so powerful, very aggressive on the feet. Once he hit Beneil and knocked him down, he was all over him, and there was no chance for Beneil to come back. And he flattened him, very early into the first round. Literally did the best possible thing he could have done and KO'd Beneil stiff in the opening minute. Now, Beneil has been knocked out like this before. Alexander Hernandez, way back in the day, caught him kind of cold and knocked him out just like this, earlier than this even. And, he just lost to Charles Oliveira by way of first-round knockout. So, it's a pretty tough spot for Benny. But, Arman wasted no time coming at Benny hard and fast in the opening minute of the round, catching him with an overhand right knee and then right straight combo that just sent Benny crashing to the canvas. And then the ground and pound just left him stiff on the ground. And Arman sprinted out of the cage to celebrate with his family or his friends or whoever, maybe it was one of his coaches or something. But the speed and the ferocity that Arman showed was something that we really hadn't seen yet with him. We have never seen Arman KO someone stiff like that on the feet, especially not that fast into the fight. But, he showed brutal power in his hands, speed to back it up. And, this makes him even more dangerous considering he's already a monster on the ground with a wicked scrambling game and some great wrestling. But now he's got KO power and some wicked hand speed too. It really does. It really does speak to how far he can go in this sport because he has amazing grappling, and now he's showing that his striking is coming up to scratch. Obviously Benny isn't like a crazy good striker, but Oliveira knocked him out. Like, we're talking about the new and improved Benny. The only guy to do him like that is Oliveira, who we all know how dangerous Oliveira is on the feet. One of the most dangerous fighters in the UFC. And he knocked out Benny, and it took him longer to knock out Benny than it did Arman. So it really asks, how dangerous is Arman on the feet? It's a tough loss for Dariush for sure. He went in under a year. He went from riding an 8-fight win streak to being on the verge of a title shot. To being on the end of 2 first-round knockouts, back-to-back first-round knockout losses. So, both losses are to elite competition, to be fair to Benny. Charles Oliveira, former defending champ, and Arman, one of the hottest prospects in the division and the whole UFC. But seeing as Benny was kind of on the rise to the top, it just begs the question, what's next? Because, when you're on a win streak like Benny was, you have to face elite competition. There's no more fighting up-and-coming guys. You're at the top, and now you have to fight for your spot in the top and get a title shot. So now that he's taken 2 losses like this to elite guys, it really begs the question, what's next for Dariush? And I think that it might be time for him to consider retiring, because these 2 fights kind of show that he can't hang with the top guys, and he's 34, which is older for lightweight. And, I don't really know what's next for him. He could fight down in the rankings, but it's taken him so long to build that streak. He didn't get a title shot, and now he's taken another knockout loss. Brutal knockout, a lot of damage that he's taken in his last 2 fights. So, I'm not saying he has to hang him up, but I think he should at least consider it. I mean, he could fight somebody like Hooker or maybe even RDA, who's the guys that are ranked below Arman now, which is who he'd have to fight now that Arman beat him. But other than that, I don't really know who you could give him. But I'm not saying he has to retire. He still is talented. He's 34, so he's not old. Bobby Green's 3 years older than him, still fighting. So it's up to him. But these 2 losses are very brutal, very bad knockouts, very early in the fight. So he's going to have to take some time off for sure and really think about what's next. And without a doubt, he's going to have to fight down if he does fight again. But for what's next for Arman, I think he really has earned a spot really in that top 5. I know we called out Gaethje. I do think that's an amazing fight. I think that Gaethje versus Arman is a great fight, great matchup. But I think that Gaethje is going to be waiting for the title shot. I think he's earned the title shot. So I think he's going to be sitting out and waiting for the title shot against Islam Makhachev. So I think that Arman should fight Poirier now that he's beaten Beneil Dariush. I don't know how likely that is to happen, though, unfortunately, because I think that, Dustin Poirier isn't likely to fight down and fight Arman, even though Arman's probably going to be ranked in the top 5. But yeah, I mean, you could even make an argument to give him Charles Oliveira in a title eliminator bout, because I don't think that Charles Oliveira has earned a shot against Islam with just the win over Dariush. I think that Gaethje's next. So I think that you could do Oliveira versus Arman for, the number 1 contender spot after that Gaethje fight. Because if Arman beats Oliveira, then I think he has earned a title shot. And also, I think that matchup is very good because, Arman has that match with Islam in the past. So and it was a loss, but it was a very close fight. So if we can get Arman versus Oliveira, somebody who Islam has recently fought and finished, who knows? Maybe Arman goes out there and beats Oliveira more impressively than Islam did, and that hypes up the fight with Islam even more than it is now, because we know that Arman gave Islam probably his toughest fight in the UFC, and that was on his debut years ago. So the potential matchup with Islam Makhachev is a very exciting one. But other than that, yeah, I mean, I personally think that is the fight to make for Arman versus Oliveira, but I could see why some people would disagree. But I do not think that Poirier is going to be easy to make that fight with in terms of him agreeing to fight down like that. I think he's going to have a problem with it, so I think Oliveira's the fight to make. I think he would accept that fight, and I think it makes sense for both guys. But now let's talk about the co-main. You know, it was a good win for Jalin Turner. Amazing, looked really good, did exactly what he needed to do. You know, he kept Bobby Green at bay with the length that he has, the reach advantage, and he ended up catching him with a great straight punch, hurt him bad, didn't give him a chance to recover, ended up finishing him. And now what I want to talk about is the finish. That is probably the most controversial part of the whole fight, and maybe even the whole event, was the finish over Bobby Green was a very, very late finish. You know, he knocked Bobby Green down, and the way that Bobby Green fell, I personally think that fight could have been stopped once Bobby Green hit the mat. You know, like that had the potential to be like almost like a walk-off KO for Jalin Turner, the way Bobby Green just slumped into the mat almost face first. Then Jalin Turner went to go finish the fight, you know, as one does, and Bobby Green was covering up, and it was about 5 or 6 big shots that landed clean for Turner, and the ref didn't even step in. And then Bobby Green kind of turned around, and it was another like 10 big shots. And then I think that the last few really started to slip through the guard of Bobby Green and actually knocked him unconscious. And then the referee stepped in, but it was absolutely atrocious. The stoppage was just there was no reason to let that fight go on, and Bobby Green was just covering up, and Jalin Turner was just landing big, huge bombs on him. Unanswered shots. Bobby Green was done. The second he hit the mat, Bobby Green was finished. He was done. He was no longer in the fight. And all of those shots, it was something like 20 unanswered shots. Just bang, bang, bang. Some of them landed to the back of the head, I'm sure. I haven't rewatched the finish, so I can't say for sure, but it was just an absolutely just ridiculous stoppage. Probably the worst stoppage I've ever seen in my life. And there's no excuse for that. The referee made it just a terrible mistake. You know, he's not a bad ref, but this mistake is it's inexcusable, and I don't think he should be reffing again for the UFC. I just think that after you make a mistake like that, you put somebody's health and safety and future just at risk. You know, Bobby Green, thank God Bobby Green is okay. You know, he did get up on his own and in the cage got up on his own and was all right and walking around. And there's a video of him and Turner backstage after the fight talking and you know, just kind of laughing around and making a joke. Because I think they were friendly before, but this could have been terrible. You know, Bobby Green could have been permanently injured from taking all of those unanswered blows he didn't need to take after he was already rocked and dropped bad. So I think this looks bad for the UFC and just you can't really put too much blame on Turner. You know, he was just trying to finish the fight. It's all on the ref, and it makes the UFC look terrible, and it's just unexcusable. As for what's next for Turner, I think you could give him Renato Moicano. I think that would be a very entertaining fight. You know, some people might say he should fight up. I think that's a good idea, too. You could also give him a guy up the rankings. The problem is, though, if you look at the rankings, Jalin Turner's ranked number 12th. Benoit Saint Denis number 11th. He's probably going to get a fight up the rankings as well. He's earned a shot up. You know, Rafael Dos Anjos number 10. It's kind of unclear if he's going to fight at 155 or 170. Hooker, obviously injured, but they obviously already fought. Tsarukyan's going to get a huge spot up in the top 5. Fiziev's injured. And then I think Gamrot, having already beat Turner, as well as being like a huge step up the rankings, there's not really many people that Turner could fight. You know, I think that Renato Moicano is a clear opponent for him. It would be an amazing fight. I think both guys would bring it. And, you know, you could have that as the co-main of a fight night. You know, I think you could. And I don't know who else you could give Turner. Possibly give him RDA. You know, that would be a really good test for him. I don't know how winnable of a fight that is, but him versus Moicano would be fireworks. You know, winner gets a big spot up the top 10. You know, you could even give the winner of that one Fiziev when he's healthy. I don't know if Moicano's earned that fight though. So I think that Turner has earned, if he gets another win over a ranked guy, earned a jump up like that. But anyways, Moicano versus Turner, I think that's the fight to make. I want to just quickly go over the 2 other fights that happened on the card. Was Figgy versus Font and Brady versus Gastelum. Now, Brady versus Gastelum, Brady looked amazing. You know, I picked Gastelum to win. I thought he'd be able to keep it standing. He couldn't keep it standing at all. Brady took him down early into all the rounds pretty much and finished him in the third, out-grappled him completely. Brady surprised me. You know, he looked amazing on the ground. I knew he was great on the ground. I didn't know he was that good at getting guys down and keeping them there. Thought that's what he struggled with, but I was wrong. You know, Brady is looking amazing, looking like a legit contender. You know, he called out Ian Gary. I think if he beats Luque, that's a great fight. Don't know if the UFC will make that because it's not a good matchup for Ian, but you know, I think Brady does deserve another big crack up the rankings now that he's got that win over Gastelum. I know Gastelum wasn't ranked, but he was a ranked middleweight, so he's still like a ranked guy. I think you could give Brady, maybe give him Jeff Neal. You know, if you don't give him the winner of Luque Gary, I think you could give him Jeff Neal. I think that'd be a great matchup. Really entertaining one. You know, it's kind of like one guy's going to have their way. You know, Jeff Neal's really good stand-up guy, sprawl and brawl. Brady going to get you down and hold you down, look for the sub. But yeah, I mean, I just wanted to talk about that fight a little bit. You know, it wasn't the most entertaining fight. You know, Brady's not the most entertaining fighter, but I think he's decently entertaining because I think he's a good grappler, and the way that he grapples is a bit more entertaining than some other guys. He's not just a wet blanket kind of guy. But yeah, I mean, it was a decent performance, great performance for Brady, not good performance for Gastelum. Gastelum looked probably his worst that he's looked in a while. But yeah, decently entertaining fight. But Font versus Figgy was a really entertaining fight. I thought Figgy looked really good. You know, I picked him to win, and he won pretty decisively. You know, I got most of my picks right. I didn't get the Brady pick right, but that one sucks. You know, you win some, you lose some. But I thought Figgy looked amazing. You know, I think him versus Jan is the fight to make. I think that would be a banger. You know, I think that could headline a fight night because, you know, they're both former champs, both looking to get another crack at the belt. Now Figgy looking for a crack at the bantamweight belt now. But yeah, I think that's the fight to make. You could make that headline a fight night. That's a barn burner matchup between two former champs. Two guys with great striking, great grappling, great power in their hands, great speed. You know, that's a barn burner. So yeah, I mean, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Great card last night. I thought it was a really entertaining one. Some great fights. Even the prelims, a lot of finishes, a lot of great fights. A lot of guys that looked really good, you know. And yeah, I'll have another video coming out for you guys hopefully on like Tuesday, Wednesday-ish. And then I'll drop a breakdown for the next weekend's card. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you guys in the next one.